Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Doug Forrest from The Myth is Canada, and tonight we're having a roundtable from the War Memorial. Miranda and Cody are here with us from Revolution Canada, and we have Tanya and Shirley and possibly Paula will be joining us from Stand Up Canada, and Dan will be coming in from Hugs Over Masks when he finally gets on board with us. And anyways, why don't we go around the table and start a little bit of introductions. So tonight we have Tanya and Shirley right now from Wake Up Canada. So Tanya, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about what Wake Up Canada is about, and then pass that on to Shirley to finish it up for you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Doug. It's Stand Up Canada. But thanks for having us. So essentially, Stand Up Canada is a leaderless group of really just concerned citizens, including myself, Shirley, and Paula, who are on this call. And we're really just concerned citizens who are presenting our opinion on the fact that Canadians do have rights, and we're sharing what these rights are and how specific ones are, of course, being violated. And we're letting people know what they can do about it, because many have no idea, many feel helpless, and they don't know what to do, even those that are against the measures. So we really aim at empowering and uplifting our fellow Canadians with not only providing information, but also have and organize, for example, shopping trips using an old scientific strategy like the power of the herd. So really the concept behind this is a group of unmasked people shop in the same store as strangers. And the goal of this is to help influence others that mask exemptions exist and you don't have to wear one. And using this strategy, you only need about 5% to influence the other 95%. Like I said, it's an old concept of the power of the herd. So essentially, we're disrupting that herd. So we've gained a lot of traction very quickly because of the lack of information available, especially regarding the rights and freedoms. And that's what a lot of people are gravitating to. So, you know, as you may know, the only legal expert and lawyer that's actively speaking out against this right now and doing something about it is the constitutional lawyer, Rocco Galati, which, like we said, we all know that he's suing the government alongside CBC and medical officers. So Stand Up Canada has now been working alongside Hugs Over Masks, The Line, Vaccine Choice Canada, and really other groups to help empower and uplift Canadians to know their rights and protect those rights. So that's what we're doing. My partners, myself, co-founders of Stand Up Canada, is Shirley and Paula. And Shirley, if you want to chime in and add anything, please do.
Yeah, Shirley, you got to unmute your microphone.
All right. We started as Stand Up Ottawa because we are all in Ottawa, and we started by going to Parliament Hill every Saturday. And after doing this for several weeks and only being like 15 or 20 people, we thought, well, there's a better way to spend our energy, which is when we finally met face to face at my farm and tried to strategize as to what we could do to help this country of ours. And we thought education of people, like Tanya was saying, so we started our website. And one of the first things we wanted to do was to unify people through a website by including all the groups. And because what I found so difficult when I started is I didn't know where anybody was. Nobody knew where anybody else was. We were all a bunch of blind people trying to figure out how to do anything. And it was very difficult to get Ottawa people together. I remember when we started Stand Up Ottawa, Stand Up Ottawa Facebook page, we were thrilled when we were 15 members. I mean, that was a big deal. So we figured by having a website, and this is still to come on the website because it's a growing thing, is to include all the groups and with a description of what each of the groups does, and just so that people know where to go. And then we've, especially Paula, have broken off into the descriptions of the charter, and all we're doing is, all Paula's doing, or all of us, is taking the charter, what's written in black and white for everybody to read, but explaining it. And that's what people needed, is to find out exactly what those words meant. It's most people can't figure it out by themselves. So I think that's been very, very helpful. So there you go.
Well, thank you for that. And I see we've got Dan from Hugs Over Mask has now joined us. So, Dan, why don't you tell the audience what Hugs Over Mask is all about, and any events that you might have coming up would be great.
Absolutely. So, hello everyone. My name is Dan Oak, and I'm from Hugs Over Masks. I'm one of the leaders of the movement in general, though certainly not a founding member like Cullen or Vlad. I work in whatever capacity I can, and I am the leader of the Mississauga Oakville chapter as well. Hugs Over Masks as an organization is focused on education, positivity, and truth, health, and freedom. And what we try and do is not only build as many people up as they possibly can. I mean, we're getting new volunteers to start chapters all the time, and all a chapter really is a group of like-minded people in an area, and we try and assist and empower them to be able to create their own actions and their own movements while sort of coordinating with a larger group entity. Such as ourselves. And we also do a lot of outreach to and connecting with other groups, such as the wonderful people at Stand Up Canada right here, who have just been like, the timing was phenomenal with them, and the amount of people that through their work that we've been able to help and empower to not only learn their own rights, but to stand up for their children, which has been really, really impactful. So that's really what we try and do, is just street level education, as well as standing up for every individual and to unite people as a nation, as a chapter, as a group, whatever else it may be. In terms of upcoming events, we're always protesting on a weekly basis at Queen's Park. That's every Saturday from about 12 to 4 p.m. And then we also have individual chapters. We call them celebrations of life. Protest for legal jargon, but we just get together and we talk about actions in our local areas. For example, the Mississauga Oakville chapter at Jack Darling Park. There are Hamilton chapters, over 20 across the country, and a few in the States, one in Australia. And that's, like I said, every single Sunday. So if you just go to the website, HugsOverMasks.ca, you'll find an event near you, or if you don't have one, you can start one. And we are more than happy to assist anyone with that process. That's us in a nutshell.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. Super appreciate you coming on this evening. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Miranda, and let's get a little update from her as to what's been happening this week up at the War Memorial in Ottawa and what you might have planned for next week.
Hi, guys. Just want to say it's nice to finally see some Stand Up Canada participants here. I know I've been trying to get you ladies for a few weeks on the roundtable, so it's nice to see you. We are planning for the 23rd, the first day back in Parliament. So that is what we've been focusing on this week. We've been putting out flyers for that. I'm sure you guys have seen some emails, some flyers going around. We're planning to meet on the Hill at 10 o'clock. I know you guys probably watched the success that Quebec had rallying people at their Parliament yesterday. We want the same thing for here. We worked all summer, guys, for this day. They're coming back to work. Even though we see them every day kind of here and there, we really all need to get to Parliament on the 23rd, their first day back at 10 o'clock. So we're planning that, and we're also planning the public inquiry where Paula, actually, she's Stand Up Canada, she's going to present her emergency order documentation. So I'm sure, I know you guys talked about that a little bit. That document has been going crazy because of the way it's laid out and how articulate it has been put together. So we would love to showcase that at our public inquiry. That is going to be in Ottawa as well, and that's on Saturday, September 26th. So we talked about that a little bit last week. We do have a speakers list solidified. We're not releasing that to the public, but if you're on the list, if you're on the panel, as you are, Doug, we'll be releasing that to you and the rest of the participants of this event. So hopefully the weather holds up. It's outside. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a public inquiry into some of the crimes that are being committed towards Canadians. So some people have some testimony they want to share, and we're going to have a panel of, I guess you want to say, experts in each different field listening to these testimonies. Our hope is to have it really hit home with Canadians on the laws and how they're not protecting us, and they're absolutely not being useful to us anymore. So at the end of it, I hope that everybody feels that after listening to all the testimonies that we have, that, you know, there's no remedy within our judiciary system that we have now, and we need to move forward as one in this nation to work towards solutions. So that's our hope for the inquiry. And then Parliament, obviously, our hope is to get a crowd there. We have some cool things planned. We want to take a little bit of Glorious and Free's idea from the 29th that never was a hit because of the weather, and use that, as well as some strategic moves on the Hill. We actually had a meeting today with Sebastian, who is head PPS of the Hill, and that went well. We were very adamant to tell him that we won't be getting a permit because we don't ask for permission to be able to rally and state our rights, but he was very cooperative, so that'll be good.
So Miranda, on the 26th, let's say we have somebody in Alberta or Vancouver or Saskatchewan who would like to present something to the panel. Is there an availability that they would be able to live stream in and do that?
Yeah, so we do actually have some people coming in person to tell their testimonies, and some people doing a Zoom call. So they do have the opportunity to do that. And they also could just record their 5 or 10 minute testimony or their story onto a video, and then they can actually just email that and we will play it. So they don't even have to commit to the Zoom call itself. They can just pre-record if that's easier for them, and they can email that. I don't know if Ed wants to put this on the screen, but they could email their testimony pre-recorded to govcrimeinquiry@protonmail.com. That's GOV crime inquiry at protonmail. So that's also an option. I know people are very busy. Saturdays, can be hard to get to make, and to make a specific time as well, because we're kind of fitting into a 7-hour day to try to keep people not there too long. So
well, that's okay.
it's, we're hoping that it kind of takes off. We're hoping that it takes off. If we can do that here in Ottawa, they can rally people in their town. I think just having that public forum of examples of how people are suffering in any way, shape, or form is going to be so powerful.
Well, and a lot of the provincial governments have also overstepped their boundaries, as Stand Up Canada and Tanya, Shirley, and Paula have done that wonderful declaration of emergency, and how they just they ignored the whole thing, and in every single province they just ignored it. And so, yeah, I mean, you could hold public inquiries across the country. The other one that we're looking at on the Concerned Parents Roundtable is, why aren't they following their occupational health and safety standards? The federal government considers this what they call a biohazard, class 3 biohazard, which is where are the biohazard bins, where are the WHMIS trained people, et cetera, to deal with this biohazard. If this virus is so virulent and contagious and infectious, why are we sending, this is for concerned parents, why are we sending our children into a petri dish? It makes no sense, and they're not following their own regulations. And I love what Tanya, Shirley, and Paula have done with this declaration of emergency. It was so thoroughly researched. It's just a beautiful document. Ladies and gentlemen, get on their website and read the darn thing. It's amazing. It will just, and especially for the 80% that aren't awake yet, this will wake you up. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry to say, you're never going to wake up. Anyway, does Shirley, Tanya, or Dan have any questions for Miranda? And by the way, Miranda, where's Cody tonight? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, he's around. He's around. He's just not in here. Am I good? Am I coming across clear, or am I coming across choppy?
No, you're getting your internet is once again they're playing with you on the hill, and it's starting to stall a little bit. You're starting to freeze up. As a matter of fact, I think you might be frozen now. Because there you go. Nope. But go ahead, anybody.
So I actually have a question for Miranda, but something to add to the overall discussion as well. So I've got a personal story that I've been sharing and giving to as many people as possible regarding a testimony that could be done, whether we do something amazing like you guys are doing on the 26th here, or if you think it would help to add to what you're doing on the 26th, I'm more than happy to pre-record something for you guys. But the short version of it is, unfortunately, oh, is she coming in there? Okay, I'll let Miranda talk.
No.
No.
Okay. If I'm freezing up or not, I might come back in, but no, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep rambling then. So anyways, the story is that we often say to folks that we're trying to do any sort of street activism with, the usual line: do you know anybody who has actually died of COVID? That's a pretty typical one that we try and use. And a lot of folks answer no, and then even if they do answer yes, comorbidities, yada yada. But unfortunately, I happen to know somebody who's died from the COVID measures, and it was a father around my age, 2 young kids, 5 and 3 years old, beautiful wife, beautiful family, career based in athletics, no prior mental health issues whatsoever, and fit as a fiddle. And unfortunately, the measures came in. They were working for a local municipality, and they didn't see a way out. They had a business out in BC that was tanking, and just there it is. That was about a month and a half ago. His children and his wife are doing better now. They're with their immediate family. So they're staying positive, and everything is as good as possible. But I'm sure so many of us have got a story where we've got somebody. It's not necessarily that as extreme as this one, but I'm sure that we've got stories where somebody's been immediately affected by the COVID measures. And in this case, it took a life, unfortunately. So it's if we think that that's helppful, or if you've already got enough of those, I'm sure you do. But that's a very real story that we deal with here. And there was even a group that we just connected with. I've gotten Tanya in touch with or Tanya over there, there we go, in touch with them. And the group is called Halton Parents Initiative. And they've been battling with the local Catholic school board, because the Catholic school board here has decided to go against the provincial mandates. And instead of masking grade 4 and up, which is still insane, they're doing JK and up. So every single student in the whole school is going to have a mask. Well, sorry, since September 1st has had a mask on them. So we helped them out, and we protested them. We got Rebel News involved in the story. But I mean, we just had a mother in that group send out a message today that her 6-year-old daughter had forgotten her mask at home. And the 6-year-old was in line, ready to go into school, and she forgot her mask, and she was so stressed out about it that she ran home about 2 blocks to get her mask. And now, we're dealing with that. But these are some very real stories where, people just need to wake up, and, they need to go to Stand Up Canada. They need to go to, TheMythIsCanada.ca. They need to go to Hugs Over Masks, and they need to just see that, we adults can deal with this as best as we possibly can. We can stand up for ourselves, but the children suffering like that, it's not okay under any circumstances. It's just not okay. So, we're doing what we can right now, but the group grows and grows and grows. So now they're in touch with us. They're in touch with Stand Up Canada. we'll get this thing. It's one battle at a time.
You know, and it's funny, I was driving today and I was listening to the radio, and I don't normally do that, but they had a little news article that come on, and they actually talked about children now getting lung infections from prolonged use of these masks. And if it's going to attack the children, it's also going to attack the parents. And these lung infections, of course, they wouldn't go into any detail. This is mainstream. But you can imagine, I've read other articles where they've now found staph infections that are antibiotic immune from wearing masks. There was 7 cases here in Ontario where they actually had mold growing in their lungs from wearing their masks. People don't understand that these paper masks need to be, if you're going to wear a paper mask, it has to be changed every 15 to 20 minutes. And if it's not, then the buildup of moisture within that mask starts the bacteria to grow and starts the mold to grow. And the mold, once you get mold in your lungs, the only thing that the doctors can do for you is keep their fingers crossed that you don't die, because there is no cure for that. It's actually almost a death sentence if you're not careful. If you're healthy and have a strong immune system, yeah, you'll probably survive it. But if you're not, because you've been wearing a mask and for the last 3 or 4 months, it'll probably kill you, sadly. And with this new staph infection that's literally antibiotic immune, that rips through a body that has an immune system that's been compromised by wearing these masks. And you're only killing yourselves for the benefit of, well, Bill Gates is a known eugenicist, and that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to die. I mean, he's got this great new mRNA vaccine that he wants to stick in your arm. And you're going to take it. Why? Why would you take a vaccine from a eugenicist? This guy wants to kill you, and he's open about it. Wake up the 80%. Please go to Stand Up Canada. Go to Hugs Over Masks. Come to Revolution Canada. Come to The Myth is Canada. Come to The Line Canada. Learn. Wake up before it's too late. Now I'm going to shut up.
Well, Doug, I'll piggyback off of what you just said with the masks and the staph infections. So the next thing that we've got to really worry about is a specific type of cancer called I always mess it up, but I think it's mesothelioma cancer, and it's exacerbated by breathing in plastic particulates. And what are you doing when you're wearing a mask, like especially the surgical mask most of the times, right? So again, with all of this alignment stuff, right? Like very shortly after I was chatting with Stand Up Canada. And we got really lucky. We got an insider MD who gave us all sorts of wonderful information, and then I got a little inspiration to say, well, how about primarydoctor.org? And there's an amazing doctor there named Dr. Colleen Huber, and she's done a 42-study meta-analysis on masks and their lack of efficacy and how unsafe they are. And it's a great site. She's also got a really fantastic 35-study breakdown on how COVID is really just a virus that's taking advantage of a nutrient deficiency. So a great resource for all sorts of COVID thing, and she does fantastic work. So I asked if she could come on one of our Zoom calls, and she's in Arizona. She specializes in treating cancer, like properly, effectively. And so I asked her about this particular brand of cancer, and I said, "Do you know anything about this?" And she hasn't released her stuff yet, but her and an epidemiologist colleague are actually doing a deep dive, and that's their next big thing of research that they're going to be doing is the dangers of this particular type of cancer and wearing a mask for the longest period of time. And as of now, who's going to be wearing the mask for the longest period of time? You're talking about a eugenicist trying to give you a vaccine. Like, we're putting a mask on children for the longest period of time out of everyone, and now we're exposing them to a cancer risk. Are you kidding me? Like, it's madness. It's sick madness. So
Tanya, did you?
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, Tanya put her hand up. Did you want to contribute here, please?
I didn't even realize I put up my hand, but I can definitely contribute. I was actually just watching the interview today with Sasha Stone and Rocco, and they talked about that. And Dr. Buttar also talked about it, how you're creating this just because of the hot air off of your breath alone is literally breaking up the particles in your mask, and now you're re-inhaling that. And then you've got, a sociopath like Bill Gates who, publicly talks about depopulating the world, that, he's Moderna, i.e. modified RNA, they want to inject right inside of you. People don't even recognize what any modified RNA can do to your genetic makeup. It's literally permanent damage, essentially. And it's very scary because they will start with the people that are, they've said it, the healthcare workers, and then they're going to go to the, the Black people, and then the immigrants and stuff like that. And they're going to go about it that way. And they even go to the extent of talking about they need different types of vaccines for the different types of people. So there's definitely a much bigger agenda, because what vaccine have you ever heard of needs to be modified for every single type of person?
And there was an invention created a few years ago called CRISPR. And CRISPR was, if you go onto the YouTube videos, they actually did it. The people that invented this for helping people with MS, for Hodgkin's disease, et cetera, for all these literally incurable diseases, they created this thing called CRISPR. And CRISPR actually is injected into you. Now, they haven't done it on humans because so far all the animal trials have been failures. So they said they wouldn't do it on humans. Now, these are the good doctors. These aren't these guys who want to make billions of dollars by injecting you, but that's what Bill Gates' mRNA is all about. mRNA means messenger RNA, which actually goes in and it takes a based on CRISPR, it cuts into your DNA and removes a piece and installs a piece of synthetic DNA into your DNA, and then your body replicates that over time and literally changes you. Now, here's what the Gates Foundation did. They patented this. And so when you get this changed DNA, you become their property. You are now being patented. So how could they get around the 13th Amendment? Well, this is how they're getting around the 13th Amendment in the U.S. And how do they get around anti-slavery that was created in the UK in the early 1800s? Well, because you can't have involuntary slavery. That's illegal. So what they do, they change the DNA in the body, and then they patent you. Now, guess what? They just got around. You're now involuntarily a slave by taking this vaccine. You've given them the right to your body. You're no longer considered a man or a woman. You no longer have unalienable rights. So line up and get that vaccine, 80%, because it's the end of the world as we know it. But go see CRISPR, CHRISPR on YouTube. Very interesting, short, concise videos that explain it in layman's terms what this stuff does. And they co-opted it. Moderna, I'm not sure of the name of the...
Moderna.
Okay, Moderna.
Yeah.
They've co-opted this to use it for evil.
So,
Anyway.
hey guys, I had better service in the War Memorial there, but now it's pouring rain. So I'm not sure if you could hear me or not, but I didn't want to have my camera on. Give me a thumbs up if I'm coming in clear.
You're coming in crystal clear.
Okay, well, going back to Dan's comment about the different crimes and surrounding the COVID measures and stuff, we don't actually have a lot of testimony on that. we dug deeper to older stuff, things that people have experienced long before COVID. So anything like that, feel free, pass the message along. They can submit that to us for sure. We tried to stay, in all the realms of government. So not just the coronavirus response, but there's a lot of child and family services cases. Lots of people have struggled with that over the years. So those are pretty compelling, and those hit people right where it hurts, right, with the kids. And so we have those, and keep passing the message along. We'll do 5 or 10 minute clips of people's testimonies and people's stories, and share them out as far as we can. I think that we really feel like if we start waking Canadians up to the lack of remedy within the system, that's when they're going to be like, holy crap, these people don't even work for us anymore. And the coronavirus and the response to that is just one tiny little piece of that puzzle, right? There's been so much prior to this, and there will continue to be so much after this if we don't stand up now and really make our move. I know I've said this lots, but we're at a critical point in Canadian history, and Canada, as Doug knows very well, finds itself in a very unique situation that no one else around the world is experiencing, with it being that our government itself is not legitimate. So we have this very unique opportunity to rise up as Canadians and band together and make some serious change in this country, and it's needed. We're talking about Bill Gates and where he's going with vaccines and all of that stuff. We can't run away from this. What we have to do is change it before it happens. I was very disheartened to hear 3 different people today tell me that they would get the vaccine if it meant keeping their job. So I think there's a lot of Canadians at risk here if we don't band together as the people that are awake and are knowing what's going on and make some change. They're at huge risk.
Well, and here's the thing. Russia created a vaccine for this. Now, Vladimir Putin is not a stupid man, and he knows when he's being scammed. So Russia came out with a vaccine. It's called saline solution. So why don't we get the Russian vaccine over here? It's perfectly harmless.
Yeah, I what a great idea. It's interesting, Doug. Like you got me on the Children's Health Defense timeline there, and it was something that I think they came out with pretty early in it, and it's a really good way to simply try and red pill the layman, right? Because what it does is it starts from 1998 and it goes year by year, month by month, all the way from the antitrust lawsuit filed against Microsoft, and just shows you it's like a written version of the movie Plandemic in a little way. And to Miranda's point, to show that this is very much planned, right? And it's been in the works for a long time. And I mean, if you read a document like that, or you watch a movie like Plandemic, I don't know how you could come to any other conclusion other than this is planned, and this is very methodical and very intelligent. Credit where credit is due. And I mean, something that we see so often right now, it's something my sensei always says to me, is that we know through psychology that it takes 33 days to make or break a habit and 6 months to build it into your belief system. Well, how long have we been locked down right now, right? And how many conversations have we had, all of us that are here, with the average person? If you want to keep it simple and talk about masks, right? And you go, a viral particulate is this big, and the hole in the mask is this big, and it just goes through. And they say, well, those are your beliefs. And I beg your pardon, I don't believe the leaf is green over there. It's green, like you've got your beliefs, I got mine, but that is a damn green leaf, right? But that's the kind of conversation that we're having at this point, and it's very, very intentional. Whether it's get the vaccine for work, or whatever it is, we're dealing with the scared population. We're dealing with a lot of people who won't do that extra bit of research. But as much as we provided to them, now it's at the point where it's belief system versus belief system. You need to be armed with your facts, but after that, or before that rather, you've got to hit them on a little bit of a different level. And I don't think anybody's figured out that magic pill just yet.
No, regrettably, and I've kind of given up on people walking down the streets with masks on, and especially the ones walking around with cloth masks on, and you can see they've been wearing them for days at a time. The only people now I talk to is when I go into the stores and they're wearing these paper masks, and I say, you do realize that you're supposed to change that every 15 or 20 minutes. As per doctors and nurses in the hospitals, they don't wear them beyond a 20-minute timeline, and they're actually shocked when I say something like that. And they go, "What? Really?" I said, "Yeah. How many masks do they give you in a day?" "Well, just one." I said, "Well, you're supposed to change it. It should be changed every 15 to 20 minutes. Rather than come at them with, 'Why are you wearing a mask?' I come at them with, 'Hey, look, call any doctor, call any nurse. They'll tell you exactly the same thing I just told you. Don't take my word for it. Go research it for yourself.'" Because at that point, go ahead, Shirley.
What I would really like to see happen is to start documenting, do video documents of all these stories that we're hearing, like Dan, the story that you were talking about earlier, and do something like what the Vaxxed people did, like Polly Tommy, her whole series of videos she's got on vaccine injury, and somehow get people to see that, because it's not the doctors who are going to be coming forward and telling people. It's going to have to be people telling people who are getting in trouble and who finally see the light. And I just don't know if we have enough time for that, because that's, it feels like we need to get this done like right now. It feels
Like
so
yesterday.
imminent.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I won't go into too much detail about this, but it's been a little bit of a personal project of mine to try and gather some of the leaders of all of these things, towards an action this Sunday. And I've got a person for that. We've got it set up just to hear the action, because it's everything that we are doing and all these connections that we're making are so powerful and so incredible. And the amount of work that everybody's doing, like Stand Up Canada and Doug and Miranda and everybody, I mean it. It's amazing. We've never had anything like this before in this country. And it's an unprecedented opportunity, really. And but all that being said, like with these poor parents at the Halton District School Board, or literally all over the country, like the same thing is happening all over the country and all over the world. For every step that we make forward, or every new legal loophole that we find, they make 5 more around us, right? So it's like you've got your it's the art of war, right? You've got your one prong of attack where you've got your legal actions, like Rocco Galati and everything else, and they are necessary and important. And then you've got lawful actions that are something else. And I really do feel that everybody need to unite under something, because we're going to suffer in the long term. The kids are suffering right now. And, it's worth hearing about an action, but, we can all come together to come up with something to act now, and let everything that we've built catch up to it. And God willing, like if that happens, we win this thing. Like, that's it. I feel very, very hopeful about it. We win in the end.
Well, at the end of the day, we will win. I mean, they are losing, and this is why it's happening now so much more fast. I come out of the financial world, and so that's what I watch on a day in, day out basis. I watch the money and what's going on, and I read the headlines, and I read between the headlines, because they tell you one thing to cover up another. And one of the things that is happening at an exponential rate now is the collapse of that financial system. And they are so scared that this thing is going to go down too quickly, and they're not going to be able to institute the Great Reset. which I'm so happy to see that these people have so much hubris. And they're, okay, I'm going to take 2 minutes here. There's something called derivatives. And there's something called OTC derivatives, or over-the-counter derivatives, which is the betting in the casino in the Caribbean. Now, this derivatives bubble was 2.8 quadrillion as of 2011. It's now 9 years later. As a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, Kat, sent me a wonderful little article today about when 2.8 quadrillion was first mentioned. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? Because I thought it was 2.8 quadrillion today. It's actually probably double that number. And here's how these bankers work. They get paid on a derivatives bet. They turn around and go right back into this casino and bet again. Instead of bringing this derivatives bubble down, they're actually expanding it. How absolutely insane is that? But how wonderful for us. I call it the derivatives black hole. And because I'm a bit of a sci-fi buff. So anybody who's sci-fi understands that a black hole, once you cross an event horizon into a black hole, there is no return. Well, in December of 2019, the financial industry crossed the event horizon into that derivatives black hole. And it's been getting worse and worse. As a matter of fact, I said last week that the tip of the spacecraft that they're in has now entered that black hole. So we're in a very, very, very short time frame for them. Their number one fear is something called a black swan. And a black swan is an unknown unknown, which means that we could go to bed tonight and get up tomorrow and it's gone, all gone, just vanished. And that means the government of all the provinces, the cities, the federal government are gone as well. Because how do they pay their employees? How do they pay their police if the fiat currency system that they are reliant upon is gone? And that's what we're looking at. That's what nobody is paying attention to now, because COVID-19 has been the cover for that. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying this for a couple of years. Buy gold, buy silver. Don't need to buy a lot, but buy something. Something so you'll have actual money. Because this system, I don't believe for a second, I think that come the election of Donald Trump on November the 4th, when everybody wakes up on the 4th, the election results will be in, and Donald Trump will be a landslide victory once again in the United States, which is going to cause a lot of anarchy. Well, chaos. Chaos is a much better word. And in doing that, I think that would probably force the Federal Reserve to pull the pin on the grenade and end their system, because that's what it is. In other words, they'll stop pumping fiat currency into the derivatives black hole. They'll just end it at that point and let the whole thing implode. And hope, beyond all hope, that they're not going to get splattered with it when it does go away. Anyway, something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing what we're doing now. We need to wake up. And this is a way to wake everybody up. Let's get the hell woken up. Okay? Because we can fix this problem. It's not a hard thing to fix. But you got to wake up to what's going on around you. Become aware. Go ahead, Shirley. I'm sorry. I'm taking up a lot of the mic.
Oh, was Tanya, actually. So I just wanted to mention, I know that we're talking about standing up, really. One of the biggest things that we were actually just talking about in a meeting, Stand Up Canada, before this call, and we'll obviously take it offline to talk more detail, but it's really going to the people. So it's important to do it from the ground up, yes, like to the people. but it's a slow process. And this is expediting very quickly. So we don't have so much time to just sit here and educate the public. Now it's for us to take certain, recourses against the units that are enforcing these. People like the school boards, people like the public health units, things like that, that actually require, that are holding the liability. So even something as simple, I know we mentioned it on our website, where public health indemnifies themselves of liability from mask wearing. But that doesn't actually indemnify them completely, because they're the ones that are making these recommendations. So now we're looking into having, I guess, potentially legal actions against these units. And this is going to be the best way of saying, you guys are, including, the College of Physicians, things like that, that are implementing and recommending, their employees to do these measures and forcing it on the public. So they should be held liable, and that's their best way to try and go from that way.
Well, and I don't know whether you follow what was going on in Belarus over the last few weeks, where an election was held and Lukashenko got reelected. He had 80% of the population actually voted for him to come back, but then they started a color revolution. So he said, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to lie anymore. So he came out on an Italian radio show that was shown in Poland, and he told the world that the IMF and the World Bank had come to him and were going to bribe him with $942 million to shut his country down. And they had done this all across the world. A lot of the African countries told them to go pound sand, and he told them to go pound sand. So who took the money here in Canada to shut Canada down? How much did they take? What about when Bill Gates met with all the mayors up here in Canada? How much money did Bill Gates pay these mayors to create these mandatory mask wearing? How much money was spent, and how much did Trudeau get? How much did the politicos in Ottawa put in their pockets from the IMF and from the World Bank? Now, here's the funny thing. So Lukashenko said they were going to loan me the money, so that the actual taxpayers are the ones that are paying for this. Because if it's a loan, somebody has to pay it back. Well, the government doesn't work. They don't create anything other than misery. But it's us, we the people, with our labor that they demand taxes from, that are the creators of this world. And so they want us to pay these loans back to the IMF and to the World Bank for our own enslavement. You think about that one, ladies and gentlemen.
We are the human resource to them, right? It's rather than being in human resources. It's I mean, it's really, really incredible stuff. And I mean, I got the Myth is Canada documentary the second that you guys came out with it, and like really, really great stuff. But you try and tell the average person about that, and you can't really start a conversation with, by the way, we never seceded from Britain, and what? that's not really an opener, right? And you kind of have to softly go for that, and to go with what Tanya was saying, with and the College of Physicians and everything like that. So that's one of the things that this insider MD was able to bring with us right away, which was just phenomenal stuff. But they confirmed that if you try and write a mandatory if you try and write a mask exemption, even if you've got a patient with, let's say, asthma or something legitimate, it doesn't count anymore. You can't write them. And they actually emailed you guys saw it on our website, right? They actually emailed the directive from the Ontario College of Physicians, which so we have that. It's on our Facebook page, and it's there for all to see. But what they found out, and I'll say it here because this could help some other parents as well, is that this MD also figured out a way around the system to get the doctors to write exemptions. And the terrifying thing is you have to use legitimate symptoms that are coming out. So, for example, here are some of the things you go to your doctor with. You say, my child is having night terrors, because apparently that's happening. They're clawing at their faces in the middle of the night, trying to get the mask off. They're feeling claustrophobic. They're feeling, or they're getting panic attacks before they go to school to put the mask on. And what this does is it creates a contraindication, of course, with the mask being, the medical procedure that's being used. So the doctor, by those symptoms, has to write the exemption. But once you kind of get that happening, people will sort of realize, hopefully, that all of these mask mandates, as you were saying, Doug, like it was pushed upon them, and then the excuse of public opinion was used. Like none of this is science based, right? It's based on public polling and public opinion. And again, you've got the plan. You scare the people into thinking that this thing works. Even though you've got Fauci on video saying, early in the pandemic, oh, no, you may stop a particulate, but no, the mask is not necessary. No, you don't need it. Save it for the healthcare workers. And then 4 months later, you put it on them, and say, oh, you got to wear masks, you got to wear goggles, you got to do all of these things. The idea is hopefully you wake them up with something small, and then people can just start to see the tip of the iceberg, and then just explore down from there, hopefully.
Well, and welcome to my roundtable.
Yes,
because that's what this is what Miranda and myself and the others came up with to do these roundtables on Wednesday nights, was to bring all the different groups in so that we get unity and one voice. This is so important that we have one voice. And by the way, Tanya, if you go to do a lawsuit or are involved in a lawsuit, remember that as the plaintiff, you get to depose the defendants. And so when you're sitting with the attorneys, you make sure that if the attorney won't ask the question, you ask the question, who paid you to do this? Because they have to, and it's being taken with a stenographer there, and they have to tell you the truth. Your attorney might say, oh, you can't ask that question. And you say, shut up or I'll fire you. Ask the question and it must be answered. That's what it.
You're right, because there was, I think it was the city council, Shirley, if I'm correct, in Kingston, that actually replied back. So we obviously did a lot of emailing campaigns when this thing first started, until we realized that they're bought out. There's nothing that we can email that can get them to say anything. But one of them was emailing a bunch of them saying, how much were you paid to pass that bylaw? And one of them actually replied back saying, why don't you ask public health how much they were paid? So that tells you something right there, because he was diverting it from himself and putting it on public health. So 100% somebody is getting paid. And I myself, just to clarify, it wouldn't be myself that's actually pursuing the lawsuit. This is why it's important for us to gather these stories, because we want multiple cases, and every single story is a plaintiff. Every single person is a plaintiff. My nephew himself, or my husband's nephew, but himself is one of those children who is 7, 8 years old, who is waking up in the middle of the night, pulling at his face, having tears, and screaming, I don't want to die. This is something, and he's got to wear the mask every day. And these are the stories of the plaintiffs that need to be addressed, because they need to be held liable for the implications that are happening. The measures are killing more people than the virus. So that's the problem. That's the virus, really.
Well, and the reality is that across all the virology labs in the world today, none of them have isolated SARS-CoV-2. None of them. So you got to ask yourself, what virus? And if you're saying that it's a coronavirus, well, they call it a coronavirus. Well, that's a common cold. Of course, everybody will test positive for the common cold, but SARS-CoV-2 cannot be tested for. Why? Because they've not isolated that virus. In other words, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist today. So what are these vaccines based on? What are they making these vaccines for if it's not SARS-CoV-2? which is COVID-19. That's what they said COVID-19 is, SARS-CoV-2. The top virology lab in the world is in Switzerland. They took 3,000 blood samples from cadavers that died of COVID-19 in Italy. And over a 3-month period, they tried to isolate SARS-CoV-2 to verify the death certificates. Couldn't find it. Not there. The virology lab at Stanford University, 18,000 samples. Same thing. Couldn't find it. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. The virology lab says it takes up to 2 years to isolate a virus. Wow. So how do they get this? This is what astonishes me. How do they get these vaccines? Oh, we're working on a vaccine to protect you from COVID-19. Well, according to Canada Health, COVID-19 here in Canada hit herd immunity, according to them, on April the 11th, 2020.
I just want to add to that too. On StandUpCanada.ca, actually, we have a link to the 7 experts alone that have said that this virus hasn't been isolated, because there's people that will try to argue that it has been. It has not been isolated. So what are you testing for if it's not isolated? What vaccine are you creating if it hasn't been, isolated? It literally makes no sense. And that's what people don't recognize. They'll look at some data or what they claim to be data, but it's the lowest end grade of any type of science that should not even be credible or presented as science. And they'll try to go with that, but it hasn't been isolated. So you're testing right now, getting a bunch of false positives on something that you don't even know what you're testing for. You're testing for symptoms.
Well, they're actually testing for the coronavirus, which is called the common cold. When you put SARS in front of it, or MERS or the other one, then it changes the coronavirus to a flu. And then there's other things there. So coronavirus by itself is the common cold, and this is why they've been changing the message on TV, on radio, etc. Now come get coronavirus tested. Get corona. No longer COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. It's now the coronavirus that they're testing for. And here's a really weird thing. They stick a swab up your nose. Viruses don't live up your nose. If you're going to do a test for a virus, for that kind of virus, it has to be a mouth swab, the same way they would do a DNA swab. So what are they actually sticking up your nose? I'd certainly not let somebody stick something up my nose when I know fully well that that's not the proper way to do. And that's just testing for coronavirus. So yeah, I'll test positive for the coronavirus. I've had a common cold, as have you, Tanya, as have you, Shirley, and as have you, Dan. I bet you everybody has had the common cold at least once or twice in their life and would test positive. So the reality here is that they're getting caught up, and that's why they have to keep changing the narrative, because people keep exposing them for what they are, fraud.
And didn't the sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, go ahead.
Well, didn't the CDC just walk back their quiet little release of that 6%? That, obviously the people that have got their eye on this, the smart people went, hey guys, like here's some truth right here, like we locked down this entire country for less than 10,000 deaths, and now they've scrambled to walk it back. Like they've been manipulating the data since the very beginning. They've never isolated the thing since the very beginning. And Tanya and Shirley, so you guys had the suggestion to compile all of the videos and the testimonies and everything like that. Interestingly enough, when we were at the protest for the Halton Parents Initiative on Tuesday, I managed to get David Menzies to come down and do an interview from Rebel News, which was really good, and he's been following up on that. But the next, with all the parents coming together on that, the next thing that I've pitched to him and he's very interested in is doing exactly that, getting a bunch of the parents to come in with testimonies. He got my story on that interview as well about my friend's husband. and just compiling a list and not just putting it. I mean, we can do that, and we can just put it up on our social media. You know, I've told my story several times already, but to have it on something like Rebel News, as well as, you know, now it's on the roundtable here. You know, that could very, very easily go nationwide and go viral, so that people really start to hear the fact that the measures are killing people. And then, you know, once they realize that, you know, kids are being harmed, and then, you know, we hit them with the study of the mesothelioma cancer, and you know, see the trauma that's happening with them, see the inconsistencies with the Ontario College of Medicine, start to talk to the schools and business and say, you guys are liable directly. And then, in addition to that, then you start to go, by the way, the virus has never been isolated. Go here, check it out for yourself. And then people go, well, then what the heck are we testing for? By the way, the PCR test was never meant to be used on an RNA virus, according to the inventor of the test. You know, and you hopefully build the narrative from there. But, you know, to go back to that 6 months belief system, you have to, when it's a belief system, you have to hit them on emotions first. Facts don't matter anymore. You know, Dr. Tenpenny said facts are on the moon, right? Like you just, here's the science here. Yeah, those are beliefs. Okay. But my friend, you know, died of the COVID measures. My nephew is waking up with night terrors, you know, like, and hopefully, you know, you're all these virtue signaling mask wearers that are, you know, assaulting, you know, people in our organization and all over the place, all over the country, and probably the world. You know, oftentimes they're shouting at you because they think that you're doing the wrong thing. So you want to believe that there's at least a shred of altruism or good intention in that individual, and hopefully, right? And then you go, okay, well, do you believe in harming children? No, neither do I. My nephew is waking up with night terrors. Is that okay? You know, and then maybe, just maybe, you know, we get a couple of them that way. But even if we don't wake up the average person on the street, which is, you know, it's kind of where we're at right now, at the very least, we can start hitting the people who have put this whole thing into place. We can start hitting them where it hurts, and we can start throwing action at them, whether legal, lawful, whatever it may be. And that's what that I think is really going to help to wake the masses up.
Well, and we're coming up to 1 hour here, so I'm going to bring everybody. But one last thing I'd like to put my 2 cents in for is I'm starting to ask store owners and managers and so forth, where are their biohazard waste disposal bins for their stores, and who is the WHMIS trained people here. Here in Ontario, you have the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Standards. Why are you not following them for this Class 3 biohazard medical waste? Where are you disposing of this? And what I try to do is try to do it when there's people around, so that other people can hear what I'm talking about. Anyways, and people, by the way, in our listening audience, go ask the people at Walmart. Ask to see the manager. Why isn't he following occupational health and safety standards? Where is this stuff in his stores? Go to Lowe's, Costco, all of these stores. Why aren't they following occupational health and safety standards? Get the narrative going, because it'll wake up the 80%. But I'm going to shut up. I'm going to pass the microphone. We're going to close the roundtable out tonight, and I'm just going to go around for the last time. Tanya, we'll start with Tanya, move to Shirley, come back to Dan, and any final words?
Honestly, the same thing that a lot of people say, just do your homework, do your research, educate people, especially now. Even the people that are asleep and don't want to believe it are starting to question it because it's affecting their children. And even if that's all it is, have these conversations, and you're going to realize how many like-minded people there are, and you can start shifting your herd to the right way.
Well, thank you very much for coming. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, on the Concerned Parents for Canada, on Sunday night at 9 p.m., Tanya will be back, and hopefully Shirley and Paula will join her. Go ahead, Shirley.
Well, so many people ask us, how can I help? How can I help? And then we organize things like the shopping and they don't show up. And we have rallies and they don't show up. Well, I'd like to just really ask people to start stepping up a little bit and helping out. And if you can't help out, please donate. We all need money to keep this thing flowing. So that's another way that people can help, but they need to get off the couch.
Take the words right out of my mouth. Go ahead, Dan.
You know what? Shirley, it's we're tuned in here because I want to piggyback off of what you just said. One of my favorite quotes is a warrior chooses pacifism while others are suppressed by it. I'll say it one more time. A warrior chooses pacifism while others are suppressed by it. And at this point right now, for all those people that are just, saying, I want to help, and then they don't show up, there is no more choice but to show up. Like if you are even slightly on the fence or you're thinking about it, like there's no option B anymore. They've put us in a position where you've got to pick a side, you've got to do your research, or at least fund the people that are out there doing the fight, and just get off your couches, get off your behinds, and be brave. The cure to fear is not a lack of fear; it's courage. It's time to get bold. It's time to get courageous. It's time to step up. It's time to stand up. Don't wear a mask when you go into a store. Stand up for your kids. Fight for your rights. Otherwise, they're just going to be taken from you, and you will be forced into pacifism or slavery, right?
There was a book I read many, many years ago. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, get off the couch. I'm Doug Forrest with the Myth is Canada, and this has been week 11, I believe, roundtable from the War Memorial in Ottawa. We'll be back next week for week 12. We have a special guest coming on. Lamont will be on from the Line Canada, and another one that we haven't confirmed yet, so I'm not going to tell you who. It's a secret until he confirms. And we'll see you all next week. Have a great week. And for those of you, donate if you can't get off the couch. That's fine. If you can get off the couch, come out on Saturday afternoons down to, is it Queen's Park here in Toronto that you do? And then Sundays you're in Hamilton and Mississauga for Hugs Over Masks?
All over the country. Hamilton, Mississauga, Toronto, like there are chapters all over the place.
Oh, so it's always on Saturdays.
The Queen's Park is always on Saturday.
The rest of it is Sunday.
And then the celebrations of life are on Sundays.
Okay. And as for Stand Up Canada, they're there with you as well. I take it they've been coming out and being a party to this. Yes, ladies?
Yes,
Not
most
so
of
much we're
Go
stuck
ahead,
behind
Shirley.
the computer a lot. Researching.
We started off a lot in person, but Ottawa being such a bureaucratic city, there's nobody that comes out because everybody works for the government and scared to lose their jobs, which is how we started to expedite all the other measures that we're taking for people to be able to act up.
Okay, well, thanks. I want to thank the audience for showing up. We did start late tonight. We're sorry about that. 9 o'clock Sunday, back here on next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Ed was flying today. Ed, why don't you come on and say goodnight to the people tell them where you are. Tell them where you flew to, just for the fun of it. You want to do that, Ed? There he is. You got to unmute your microphone. Ed, unmute your mic.
I'm up about 3.5 hours north of Thunder Bay. Flew up this afternoon from Toronto. And the winds weren't cooperating. Weather wasn't cooperating. Nothing was cooperating today. That's why we're late. It's my fault, guys. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, and you're 300 miles north of Thunder Bay. So you're not quite at the Arctic Circle, but you could see it from when you stand up, right?
Not quite, but close.
Okay. Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for showing up and bearing with us for this late show tonight. We've had these wonderful guests on, and go on Stand Up Canada, go on Hugs Over Masks, go on Canadian Revolution. Get involved. Please get involved. Come to TheMythIsCanada.ca.com. Get involved.
Right.
Still remember those times. Whiskey drinks came without limes, and no one cared about calories in beer. Now there's skinny jeans and hair salons.
Ed, you have to unmute your mic.
When blue jeans had no button fly, and men were men and full of pride before the manhood died. So bye to the American guy. Trade your Chevy for a Prius. Change your white bread to rye. Those hunting rifles are illegal to buy, and now everyone gets trophies who try. 'Cause keeping score might make someone cry. Now pedicures and latte blends. Every place playing poker with your friends. That's not how it used to be. And for many years, Old Spice held the throne, and now it's Justin Bieber cologne. And women weren't in the combat zone. I'm afraid that manhood has died. So we keep singing bye to the American guy. Trash your old zipper Levi's and get some butterflies. Take your truck and SUV and just kiss them goodbye. Singing this'll be the day manhood died. This'll be the day manhood died.
Who needs special powers? The politicians. They're the ones who want special powers naturally, because they're in the power game. And what they can get from Ottawa, they will have more in Charlottetown, in Quebec City, in Victoria, BC. That's the game of politics, power.